War Sovereign Soaring the Heavens, Chapter 773. I'm afraid it's already too late. Duan Lingtian's brows raised as he looked at the direction the young man left. At this moment, waves of ear-piercing howls of the wind sounded out and moved closer and closer from high above in the sky in that direction. Not long after, 5 flying demon beasts flew over, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived in the above Duan Lingtian's group of 3 before circling in the air in a threatening manner. Duan Lingtian's group of 3 raised their heads and saw that the young man who wore a white robe with golden edges from before was standing on the demon beast in the lead. His icy cold eyes were filled with ghastly killing intent as it flashed down to tightly lock onto Duan Lingtian's group of 3. It's them! The young man shouted out coldly as the origin energy on his body skyrocketed, and the demon beast beneath him started accumulating strength while waiting to attack as well. In the sky, ancient horned dragon silhouettes covered the skies as they coiled down with an imposing aura that shot into the sky like a rainbow. 9th level Void Initiation Stage Demon Beasts. Duan Lingtian's brows raised as he never imagined that this young man, a mere 7th level Void Initiation Stage martial artist, was actually capable of riding a demon beast that was 2 levels higher than himself. Looks like the Dongguo clan is really extraordinary. As soon as the young man finished speaking, the other 4 demon beasts gathered together with the demon beast beneath the young man, and the 5 9th level Void Initiation Stage demon beasts glared coldly at Duan Lingtian's group of 3. They were waiting for the command of the young man before they would pounce down and spare no effort to battle Duan Lingtian's group of 3. Duan Lingtian didn't care about the 5 9th level Void Initiation Stage demon beasts, and his gaze descended onto the backs of the 4 demon beasts. There were 4 middle-aged men with chilly expressions that stood respectively on one of the demon beasts, and all of the middle-aged men wore black clothes and were expressionless like 4 living zombies. Duan Lingtian's spiritual force stretched out to detect their cultivation in the first possible moment. They're all 4th level Void Interpretation Stage martial artist. Duan Lingtian's couldn't help but gasp. Never had he imagined that the resources and reserves of the Dongguo clan behind the young man Feng Tianwu had taught a lesson to would actually be so formidable. Only 4 normal generals of the clan possessed a strength at the 4th level of the Void Interpretation stage. As for those top experts in the clan, it wasn't difficult to imagine, and it would surely be extremely terrifying. The people in the surroundings of Duan Lingtian's group of 3 had moved aside, and their eyes were filled with terror as they looked at the people on the 4 demon beasts in the sky. As far as they were concerned, these 3 kind-hearted young people were about to be struck with misfortune. The Dongguo clan was one of the 3 great clans of the ancient desert city, and amongst the various powers in the city, it was only inferior to the Skywolf fort that controlled ancient desert city. Of course, not to mention the ancient desert city, the Skywolf fort was considered to be an overlord even in the surrounding areas. If the Skywolf fort wanted to annihilate the 3 great clans of ancient desert city, it only had to send out a vice fort master to slaughter them completely. In the eyes of ordinary people, the 3 great clans of ancient desert city were extremely formidable. But in the eyes of Skywolf fort, they were like ants that couldn't withstand a single blow. The Skywolf fort was the overlord in this corner of the foreign lands. Even if all the experts of the 10 dynasties in the south moved out, and even the 3 great clans of the ancient desert city joined forces with them, it would be impossible for them to shake Skywolf fort in the slightest. Thus, the strength of Skywolf fort was obvious. However, even though the 3 great clans of ancient desert city were nothing before Skywolf fort, any one of these clans were existences that the 10 great dynasties in the south couldn't compare to. Once all the experts of any one of these clans were sent out, it would be sufficient to annihilate the 10 great dynasties. Clans in the foreign lands were absolutely not something the 10 dynasties could compare to. In ancient desert city, Skywolf Fort occupied an area, and possessed an aloof status that was impossible to shake. However, it was precisely because of this that Skywolf Fort very rarely interfered within the matters in ancient desert city. Everything in ancient desert city, like businesses and the mid-grade origin stone vein, were the shared responsibility of the three great clans and were controlled by them, whereas more than 90% of the benefits obtained by the three great clans in ancient desert city had to be handed over to Skywolf Fort. If Skywolf Fort was disregarded, the three great clans were the three overlords of ancient desert city that no one dared offend. While the tiger sleeps, the monkeys reign, it was nothing more than that. Today, the eldest young master of one of the three great clans, the Dongguo clan, had led the generals of the Dongguo clan with the intention of killing three young people, so no one felt that they would be able to survive. They'd seen similar scenes many times, whereas the outcome was more or less the same. Not a single one of those people that offended the Dongguo clan's eldest young master would be able to survive. As far as they were concerned, there would be no exception today as well. Thump. Suddenly, a figure flashed out, and it was the woman that had been whipped flying by the Dongguo clan's eldest young master earlier. She'd brought along her child to kneel on the floor. "Young Master Han, you're a great man that doesn't harbor grievance for past wrongs, so let them off." The woman spoke as she kowtowed to beg for mercy for Duan Lingtian's group of three, and it wasn't long before her blood flowed from her head. "Kill this lowly commoner." Right when Duan Lingtian's group were shocked by the woman's actions and weren't able to react to it, Dongguo Han had shouted out coldly. **T. Duan Lingtian was the first to react, and his face went grim. But unfortunately, he was still too late. That Dongguo clan general that stood on the demon beast attacked instantly, and his vast palm print enveloped down to directly blast apart the woman and her child, causing blood to taint the ground. The terrifying palm print descended onto the ground and caused numerous hideous cracks to appear on the ground, and these cracks were dense and crisscrossed together like a spider's web. Damn it! The scene before him caused Duan Lingtian to be stunned. After a short moment, his eyes were suffused with crimson red as he stared fixedly at Dongguo Han, and he wished for nothing more than to burn Dongguo Han's bones and scatter the ashes. "I'll kill you." Feng Tianwu was enraged, and her beautiful face went ominous. Billowing flames skyrocketed on her, and she seemed to have transformed into a ball of flames that swept towards Dongguo Han. Never had she imagined that the mother of the child she'd saved would kowtow and beg for forgiveness for their sake. What's more, she never imagined that Dongguo Han would actually directly command the generals under him to kill the mother and child. That child was only 4 or 5 years old, and hadn't even had the chance to properly see the world before being killed. Feng Tianwu's rage at the moment could almost set a prairie ablaze. He doesn't even let a woman and child off. Animal. Zhang Xiaoyang's face went cold as ghastly flames of rage leaped about in his eyes, and then he stomped on the ground and seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning that moved to help Feng Tianwu. No matter if it was Feng Tianwu or Zhang Xiaoyang, they didn't know the terrifying strength of the 4 generals that Dongguo Han had brought along. But even if they did know about it, they wouldn't shrink back. Bang! One of the 4 generals by Dongguo Han's side struck out, causing a terrifying force to sweep over and instantly blast Feng Tianwu and Zhang Xiaoyang back. The 2 of them descended by Duan Lingtian's side in a sorry state, and their eyes were filled with astonishment as they looked at the ancient horned dragon silhouettes that covered the sky. 4th level of the void interpretation stage. Ha ha ha. Dongguo Han laughed arrogantly when he saw the expression of Feng Tianwu and Zhang Xiaoyang. Weren't all of you arrogant? Didn't all of you want to poke your noses in this young master's business? Come on, do it. How is it? Have all of you started to feel regret and fear in your hearts now? Dongguo Han stood on the demon beast and was surrounded by the 4 fourth level void interpretation stage generals, causing him to seem supreme as he looked down at Duan Lingtian's group of 3. Feng Tianwu and Zhang Xiaoyang didn't speak but only stared coldly and indifferently at Dongguo Han. Regret? Fear? Duan Lingtian, who hadn't made a move besides teaching a lesson to those lackeys of Dongguo Han, glanced indifferently at Dongguo Han. I've never know what regret and fear is. If you really want to speak about regret, I only regret I didn't chase up to you and cripple you earlier. As he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian's voice became slightly colder. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian's words stunned a crowd of spectators. Is this young man courting death? With a quick thought, they came to an understanding. Based on the current situation, even if this young man begged for forgiveness, it would probably be impossible for him to survive with the temper of the Dongguo clan's eldest young master. Presently, his best choice is to protect his dignity before death. To rather die standing than live on his knees. Good, good. Dongguo Han's expression was livid when he heard Duan Lingtian, and he laughed out of extreme rage. Never had he imagined that even at a time like this violet-clothed young man actually still dared talk to him like this, and it was simply an act of courting death. Suddenly, Dongguo Han's eyes emitted cold lights as he directly commanded. Don't kill this woman, I want to bring her home and play with her properly. As for the other 2 men, kill them directly. Swoosh. 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 At practically the instant Dongguo Han commanded, the other 4 demon beasts plunged towards Duan Lingtian's group of 3 as pairs of sharp claws that flickered with cold light struck towards the heads of Duan Lingtian and Zhang Xiaoyang. As for the 4 fourth level void interpretation stage generals on the demon beasts, one of them had locked onto Feng Tianwu, while the other 3 had instead locked onto Duan Lingtian and Zhang Xiaoyang. Let's retreat! Feng Tianwu shouted out in a light voice. After she called out to Duan Lingtian and Zhang Xiaoyang, a crystalline and translucent pearl had appeared in her hand, and it was precisely that pearl that had been inscribed with the detection inscription. So long as she crushed it, her father, Feng Wudao, would notice it at the first possible moment and rush over. Tianwu. But Duan Lingtian had instead stopped Feng Tianwu and shook his head at her. Subsequently, under Feng Tianwu's dumbstruck gaze, Duan Lingtian flashed out without the slightest bit of fear to greet that demon beast that plunged down, and he faced the 4 fourth level void interpretation stage experts head on. Big brother Duan. Feng Tianwu's face went pale, and she didn't listen to Duan Lingtian and crushed the pearl in her hand without the slightest hesitation. Even though this pearl was precious, yet it was far inferior to Duan Lingtian's life in her eyes. At this moment, her heart burned with anxiety, and she only hoped her father would be able to rush over as soon as possible. No. Meanwhile, Feng Tianwu saw Duan Lingtian was about to pass the 4 demon beasts, causing his beautiful face to be unable to refrain from revealing fear. Without the slightest hesitation, Feng Tianwu soared into the sky without the slightest bit of fear to chase towards Duan Lingtian. At this moment, she disregarded her life. I hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget like, share, subscribe to channels.